Today I'm going to try to make an ant farm, a homemade ant farm. It's been a week since I got a voice message from my mom, and she said she managed to catch 8 Isays. Isas, if you've never heard of it, is a female ant that flies. Yes, a flying ant. There's a time of year, usually in October, in Piedade. This has always happened in October, ever since I was born. Out of nowhere, a bunch of flying ants start to appear, these Isas. And they're really big ants, really big, about this size, with a gigantic butt. And they're males and females that mate in the air. The females afterwards will dig holes in the ground, lay their eggs there, and they'll start a new colony. In short, the Isa in the end is an ant, and inside her, there's the potential for a whole colony. And something really crazy is that people in the countryside eat the potential colony. They pull off the Isa's butt and fry it, like it's a kind of shrimp. When I was about 10 years old, I gathered around 200 of these Isas, fried them, and ate them. The taste is actually pretty good, but you get a weird feeling like you're eating an ant, which, in fact, you are eating an ant. So I asked my mom, for the love of God, Mom, save these ants. Put one in each little container with wet cotton so they can't die. These ants need water to survive. And don't put them together because otherwise they'll go and one will eat the other. They have to stay quiet in there because I'm going to get those ants. And that little box on the table has the 7 ants. My mom caught 8. 1 died. The other 7 after a week are still alive. Let's take a look at them. This here smells like leafcutter ants. If you live in the countryside, you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of an acidic smell, kind of strange. Well, here are the little containers. My mom put a kind of tool with elastic on top, so the ants can breathe and, at the same time, they can't escape. I don't think they can climb up the smooth plastic wall like this, but just in case, it's better to put it on. And I always wonder if we're giving them enough water, if we're not going to kill them with too much water anyway. Let's take a closer look at the little creatures. Look at the size of these little creatures. If you thought I was exaggerating when I said it was a giant ant, the butt of this ant is almost as big as my pinky finger here. There are 3 really cool things to know about these creatures here, at this stage of development. First, I said they were flying ants. Where are the wings of these ants? They lose their wings when they're about to dig the hole. Because just imagine an ant with wings digging a hole. My mom recorded a little video showing the ant digging the hole, and you can see that he's already without wings. Second thing, what do these creatures eat? For now, absolutely nothing. The ant leaves the anthill with the ability to go many days without eating. But the craziest thing is that leafcutter ants don't eat leaves, even though they're those pests that can destroy any kind of crop. Actually, these leaves are used by them to cultivate a type of fungus on top of the leaves, and they eat the fungus. In other words, they're farmer ants. But it's more than that. When the ant leaves the nest, it takes a small piece of this fungus and carries it with him in his mouth. So, inside here, she has already released this fungus, and it's starting to grow. I don't know if you can see it up close there, but she's messing with something white in her mouth, poking around. That's probably the fungus that's starting to grow. And the third thing, which is what we're really hoping will happen here, is that they're going to lay eggs inside here, and these eggs will give rise to tiny little ants. And these ants will start looking for leaves. They'll cut the leaves to cultivate the fungus, and then the ant colony starts to grow. So when these little ants appear, it's time for us to expand these ant colonies here. Probably not all 7 will survive. We'll have just a few that make it, and create different sections. There's a place to put food, a place where they grow the fungus, a place where they put the trash, and then, yes, we'll have a real ant colony. So, here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to put a little bit of water on top of each cotton ball here, so they always stay hydrated, so there's no lack of moisture, and I'll wait for these little ones to be born. In the next video then, we'll see the newborns, the little ants there. We'll grow the ant colony and let it expand. If you like the idea of making an ant colony at home, please give the video a thumbs up. And also to subscribe to Manual do Mundo to see the next steps in our ant saga.
But Ibarre, you already did this with those worms you planted at your house, and to this day you haven't shown how the worms are doing?
These things we raise I always think it's cool to show the next step. And the next step with the worms is for us to take out a bin of worm compost, take out a box of fertilizer there. We haven't reached that stage yet. The ants, or rather the worms too, we already have them. They've reproduced a lot. There are already hundreds of worms there. We're feeding them, but we still haven't taken out the bin of worm compost. When we do, I'll show you guys. Deal? The detail I forgot to tell you is that the winged queen ants, they feed the little fungi with their poop, and then they eat the fungus. Interesting cycle, right? You feed the fungus with poop, then you eat the fungus. Actually, we could do the same thing in the garden, right? Use our poop as fertilizer. It's been 43 days since my mom captured these ants. I'm recording this long after everything you just watched. And I have 2 pieces of bad news and 1 piece of good news. The first piece of bad news is that I think these ants aren't able to cultivate the fungus they brought from the anthill, because in their container there's no sign of fungus. The second thing is that they should have laid eggs by now to start this anthill. They still haven't laid any. The third thing is that several have died. And I don't have all of them anymore. And the good news is that 3 ants, after 43 days, with only water, are still alive. Look how amazing it is, how much energy this creature has stored to survive so long without eating. Let's take a look at how they're doing. Remember that in nature, this is exactly what would happen, okay? I'm not letting the ants starve. They have to be fed by the offspring that will be born. One very important thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video is that these here are the queens of the ant colony. So, if you've always been curious to see what an ant queen looks like, this one here is the queen. She's really huge. I'll wait to see if these 3 survive and form a colony. There are 2 risks. They may not be mated, so no eggs, or they might not be able to cultivate the fungus. And then the offspring will hatch, and they won't be able to form the colony because there's no fungus, which is what they eat, and they'll die of hunger. Anyway, let's give it more time to see if we'll be able to have this colony or not. January 4th, 2021. There's still 1 ant alive. Man, this ant has been here for almost 70 days, practically without eating, because she doesn't have any food. I don't know if she managed to cultivate the fungus she was supposed to. I don't think so, because it doesn't look like there's any fungus here, but I think she laid eggs. Let's take a look at the nest. Since she's the last one and she laid eggs, let's try to improve her environment a bit. Make it a little bigger. Oops, there we go. Come on, ant. Look how cute that is. I took the ant and its eggs and will place them in a box with soil and leaves. There's a piece of collard greens here because I don't know which leaf it prefers, but I know collard greens are edible, right? They're not toxic. This piece of collard greens isn't for the queen, it's for the babies, so they can cultivate the fungus. This ant doesn't eat leaves, so even if I wanted to give it some food, it's impossible. There's no fungus from this ant for sale at the supermarket. The benefit now is to keep it moist and avoid dryness. I won't add more water to that gross cotton. Instead, I'll put it in the soil. That improved the little creature's life, right? January 12th, 2021. Our journey has come to an end. The Tanajura, the Asa, or the queen ant couldn't survive in this terrarium I made here. I don't know if it was the terrarium that caused the problem, but anyway, she took the eggs that were here on the plastic, and we noticed there were some other ants here, some really tiny ants. But they kind of started attacking the eggs, attacking the ant anyway. Yeah, I don't know if that was it, but also, over all this time, this creature pretty much didn't eat. She was surviving with what she brought from the anthill, and we ended up failing in the mission to start a new colony. But the fact is, I haven't given up on this project, no. Now we already have a bit more experience. And Wayne taught in his videos on ABC, do Saber how to make a home to keep this queen ant in. You make a little plaster house with a small hole and everything, and when you catch the queen ants, you put them right into this little house. and the chances of them surviving are much higher. So this video is coming to an end, but the colony isn't. I'm going to build the plaster houses, take them to my mom, and in October this year, if everything goes well, she'll get another swarm of queen ants and we'll start our colony. Deal?